Thank you for coming here. For those of you who dared the traffic, for those of you who dared crossing the border, for those of you who dared crossing the mountains to come here, and for those of you who flew from elsewhere, such as the state of Washington, thank you for being here. I would just like to accentuate some of the things that Carlos mentioned before, and he talked about our trustees, so I would just like our trustees to just raise their hands, whether you're emeritus, honors, or regular trustee. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We also have an associated group here that represents the Friends of CETYS Foundation. Would you please raise your hand? Thank you. Thank you very much. We have also some of our educational partners, City University of Seattle, UCSD, USD, SDSU, Southwestern College. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Consultil, friend of the binational border community, thank you for being here. Richard Kai, thank you for being here. I think it would be, and the question of many of you, why is it that we would bother to have a town hall? CETYS University is on the other side. And the reason, I think, is that there are multiple reasons why. The first is that when you have town halls, in Mexico we call them el informe anual. It's a way of coming back to the community that you serve. It's a way of showing that special role that you have to develop individuals, to promote economic development, to develop citizenry is being done in an appropriate manner. And accordingly, it provides also an opportunity not only to share what has been done, but also areas of opportunity so that we can serve our communities better. So again, the video, I think, highlights many of the things I'm going to share with you. I might accentuate or point out a little more, with a little more detail, some of these items. But let's start with the history. The institution was founded in Mexicali. And it was at a time when several of the CSU and UC campuses were also constructed. And there was a time where society needed more graduates that would serve the local region. Local region meaning wherever it is that we're talking about. San Diego, Imperial County, LA, Mexicali, Tijuana, Ensenada. And so it emerged out of local leadership and entrepreneurs who decided that it was important in that case and in that instance, thinking only about Baja California, to make sure that they did not migrate to Monterrey, to Guadalajara, to Mexico City. And so what we have is that there's been a tradition in which I believe if some people question governance and the existence of governing boards, CETYS University exists because of its governing board. And so we applaud and appreciate and thank all the trustees who have been involved in different stages. We have some trustees who are fairly recent, younger generation. We have trustees who are part of the second generation of trustees, and a few others who are third generation. And I think that if there's something that one could talk about in terms of commitment, engagement, and continuity, we do have it with Yanak. Next. Very important to talk about the mission. There are many missions that resemble what multiple institutions can claim to be doing. In the case of CETYS, it has always been committed to developing the whole person, to making sure that we prepare graduates who incorporate themselves into the different communities that they decide to establish themselves in, but also to contribute to the economic development as such. That has been the mission, and the challenge for the board and for CETYS has been, under changing contexts and circumstances, how can you keep that alive? Next. Of course, we began in Mexicali, but very soon there was a community of entrepreneurs and leaders in Tijuana, then Ensenada, that invited us to make sure that that effort was also extended to the state of Baja California. Next. We have evolved into an institution that started with 52 students and now has 8,300 plus students across the 3 campuses. But whereas it was founded in 1961 to serve Mexicali, Tijuana, Ensenada, and Baja California, it has evolved into an institution that is also supporting and servicing the binational Cali-Baja region as well. 7% of our undergraduate student population comes from Imperial County and San Diego County. 9% in addition to that comes from other states in Mexico. And in terms of our graduate programs, because of the diaspora of the region going to corporate headquarters and elsewhere, it is increasingly the case that we have students from Georgia, Washington State, and elsewhere through hybrid and online modes being served as well. In terms of gender enrollment, you see 47% women, 53% men. In terms of faculty and administrative staff, there's more women than men. Okay, for those of you who care to know about that statistics, we've got that. Next. Of course, we were talking about servicing the San Diego and Imperial counties. So you have San Isidro, Otay Ranch, Mater Dei, Hilltop, Steel Canyon here, in San Diego. You have Vincent, Imperial, Southwest, Central, and Calexico. So these are the main high schools that we serve. And it is not something that we deliberately sought out, and worked on. As a result of a point that was made earlier during the video, and I'll comment a little bit more extensively now in a while. At the point when CETYS University received accreditation from WAS, all of a sudden it became as a legitimate option for students in Southern California who were not able to matriculate or register in terms of impacted majors. On the other hand, since we do not have a differentiation between whether you have in-state, out-state, it's the same tuition, and we do have a very generous scholarship program, it became an option. In particular for binational families who had their businesses in the US, who had their businesses in Mexico but resided in San Diego and Imperial County, all of a sudden, it became an option. And so now in a more deliberate fashion, we do have a concerted and organized effort to recruit students from these and other high schools. We do get occasionally some students from Arizona, New Mexico, Texas as well, in particular because of football. but in any case, so next. We have a high school. It is very common for institutions in Mexico, private institutions, to have a high school associated with it. It's an exception in the US. I think that Cal Poly Pomona, USD in some way, Cal State Dominguez Hills, Arizona State now. So that's an exception, but I think a growing number of institutions have a high school associated with it. And it's important not only from the perspective that you can have graduates from the high school come to your university, but also to provide continuity in that effort to mold, shape individuals who will make an impact in your respective regions. So we have high school, the regular high school program, we have a bilingual option, and we have an international baccalaureate, which is related to the Swiss accredited program. In terms of undergraduate degrees, we have degrees in engineering, industrial, mechatronic, computer engineering, in business, international business, marketing, among others. We also have law, we also have psychology. In terms of graduate programs, we have both master's degrees and 3 doctoral degrees. In master's degrees, of course, first and foremost is the MBA. So thank you to those here who have helped us move the needle in terms of the positioning of the MBA program. But in terms of the doctoral degrees, which are more recent, we have a doctorate in education with certain partnerships. We have a doctor in management and a doctorate of engineering that were just approved by WASC and by the state of Baja California as well. Next. The video mentioned international, and I think that one thing is to say you're international, another thing is to really have the data to show that. The most important indicator really is what happens and to what extent your students are involved. And in that sense, what we decided over 10 years ago is that we were going to begin to measure the degree of involvement of graduates, not the total amount, degree of involvement of graduates as an indicator. So if you graduate 100, how many of those actually had an international experience in whatever way it was defined, but making sure that it was related to learning outcomes, not to academic tourism, learning outcomes. Educators understand what I mean. So in that sense then, when we started, we were a little bit around 20% or so. So we went up to 76% in our most recent graduating class, which is June of this year. And that positions us as #1 in Mexico. #1 above Monterrey Tech, #1 above Universidad de Monterrey. And our internationalists are here. They know that 76 is not good enough. We've got to move it up to 80. And then in some majors, there's no reason why it shouldn't be 100%. International business, for example. So this is likely to continue. There are the countries, where our students went. Here are the top 5. And you might question, why is Czechia there? And Czechia is there because of President Susan Walsh's institution, CETYS University Seattle. And that's why also the US is #1. We'll give you some more data regarding that, but that relates to a specific initiative, to a specific partnership. But on the other hand, Prague is a nice city. So students are really attractive to that city. Colombia, because of the Latin connection, there's been a lot of mobility. And in China, it's undeniable. You need to make sure that if you're going to prepare global talent, they need to be sensitized to how the world economy is organized and how it is that as future graduates, on the one hand, they can be instruments for better understanding, but they can also be instruments for greater competitiveness. Next. WAS was mentioned. Just to put it into context, because it's not about CETYS, it's about Mexico, it's about quality assurance in the US as well. There are only 5 institutions from Mexico that have any US accreditation, institutional that is. The others are Monterrey Tech, Universidad de Monterrey, University of the Americas in Mexico City, University of the Americas in Puebla. WAS, there's only one, and it's CETYS. The others are accredited by Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. The process takes a long time. But if you're committed to quality, as our board was, if you do not mind investment in quality, which our board was sure that it was embedded into the strategic plan, it is achievable. And it's not something that you achieve and then forget. It is something that you need to continue. So second round that we went through the accreditation, or as they call re-accreditation, we were granted 10 years, which is the maximum. And that allowed us to also turn around and say, well, it's not only about the institution, it's about the specific areas that we're serving. And so we went after business accreditation, and we went after engineering accreditation, and we achieved both, ACBSP and ABIT. Another important thing, if you're trying to be an international institution or an institution that has an international mindset, is to make sure that you are appropriately connected. So here's just a list of the different institutions or organizations that we are members of or are interacting with that allow us to have all the appropriate connections so that our faculty, our students, our administrators are knowledgeable about what is happening and how that networking can impact the role that they play as students, as faculty, as administrators. So you have in terms of leadership and trends in higher education, governance, you have in leadership, ACE, the IAUP. In terms of governance, there is an organization in the US that is the only one of its kind in the world. That's the Association of Governing Boards. And we're fortunate that early on in the history of CETYS, our board was linked to and benefited from the advice of AGB. Eventually, part of our team, leadership team at CETYS, has also been involved. So we're members of the Advisory Council and the Council of Consultants as well in terms of governance. In terms of internationalization, binational collaboration, we have some that you've heard, some that you probably have not heard. In terms of international mobility, there's NAFSA, there's AIEA, there's APAE, among others. in terms of fundraising, institutional relations, alumni, networking, Council for the Advancement and Support of Education, in terms of binational in particular, serving Hispanic students. You have HACU, Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. They have their annual meeting this weekend, so I think Claudia knows. This Sunday I have to be in Denver, Colorado for that meeting. But it's an important way of connecting and broadening the horizon and the networking that we can pursue on behalf of CETYS University. INCUAGE, of course, is a global meta organization in terms of quality assurance, so we're also part of that. Next. We have some words from Sue Cunningham, President of CASE, please.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sue Cunningham, President and CEO of the Council for Advancement and Support of Education. At CASE, our purpose is to advance education to transform lives and society. It is in that spirit that I am honored to congratulate Dr. Fernando León and CETYS University for hosting the first ever CETYS Town Hall in San Diego, centered around the relevant theme, Empowering Talent Without Borders. CETYS University has long stood out as a beacon of international collaboration. As one of the most recognized universities in Mexico, with liaisons to diverse universities and education organizations in the United States, CETYS has served as a vital bridge, bringing together institutions, ideas, and most importantly, people on both sides of the border. Dr. León's visionary leadership has played a key role in fostering global talent and promoting a more diverse and interconnected educational landscape. As an organization with members in more than 80 countries, CASE deeply values institutions like CETYS that exemplify the importance of building cross-cultural partnerships to strengthen our collective future. And CETYS has been part of the CASE community for over 50 years. We congratulate CETYS at this important moment, and we are excited that this event will open new doors and possibilities for further collaboration for the unique California and Baja California region.
And so a lot of the work we do has, of course, to do with CETYS, the community it serves. But I think that we also have a responsibility to make those benefits extensive. So in the case of CASE, we have been working with President Cunningham so that the notion of fundraising is something that is not only true, valid, and real in the US. So we work with her so that we have begun taking that to Latin America. So there's a CASE Latin American chapter as well. It's very important to mention the following as well. Our trustees, instead of what boards of trustees have as an annual retreat, since over 10 years ago, first with former board chair Juan Ignacio Guajardo and now with board chair Gustavo Vildósola, what we've done is we've organized what we call a learning journey. And that is a visit to a city or a region that has a strong educational presence, as well as the presence of some multinational businesses and industries. So we have gone to the Boston region. I won't mention the institutions, but you know what Boston has. We have gone to Silicon Valley as well. We have gone to Claremont-Pomona region as well. We have gone to the Washington State as well. We have gone to Mexico City because, our trustee said, well, don't we have anything that we can learn about in Mexico? We said, yes, we'll take you to Mexico City as well. And all of these have been opportunities where our board is exposed to what other institutions are doing, other board members are thinking about, and then they can turn around and say, Mr. President, why haven't we been doing this? And of course, I'll say, oh, this is on my list. Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do it. Let's do it. So the most recent one and leading up to this is very important is yesterday we were at UCSD. Dr. Tamara Cunningham, thank you. Thank you for, and thank Chancellor Kosla. We met with Chancellor Kosla yesterday. Our trustees were there. Very excellent and I think revealing visit, in particular in terms of research. And so we've got that. Today we will be with President Adela de la Torre. Thank you, Alex, for coming on behalf of SDSU, and we'll be there also. Thank you. And then tomorrow, our board will be at USD, and thank you, Jaime, for representing USD. And then shortly, we'll visit Southwestern College. So Joel Pilco, thank you, and our best to President Mark Sanchez as well. So these are opportunities where you don't do it alone. You try to see what you can leverage. You try to see where you can get mutual benefit. And in this case, how can we serve the binational Cali-Baja region much better? So the other logos were of other institutions that we have collaboration with, but let me just point out a few. Number one, again, thank you, President Watts, for being with us. We have a partnership since 2005. We already have over 1,000 graduates who have a double degree. And Seattle is linked to Prague because it's part of the network of, at least when I was there, 10 different countries. I don't know how many there are right now. But the Vysoká škola financí a správní in Prague was one of the partners, and it's become a very attractive place for our students to go there. So thank you. Thank you very much. And it's 20 years of that partnership. A more recent one, and thanks to Dr. Jaime Alonso Gomez, the dual degree with USD. And I think, it's a unique offering in the sense that students get the MBA and the Master's in Leadership from USD. So thanks to your effort, we've got that. Thanks to IUP, the International Association of University Presidents, we have a triple degree, which is with Austria and Vietnam. And by virtue of going through the three countries, we have students who are much more global. They're transcontinental in that sense. And then we have one with Northern Illinois that was just signed, and it involves masters, but focusing on finance as well. We have been discussing with UCSD, with SDSU, with Southwestern, how we can engage in dual something, whatever it is that adds value to the value proposition of our respective institutions. Next. This is a little bit of a snapshot from what was and what has been. Of course, then we'll talk about what's next. But you can see there in terms of the student population, there was some student population growth. Despite COVID, we were able to recover, and now we've surpassed what was pre-COVID level. In terms of graduation rate, I think that, even if you compare it to the US, unless you are a residential institution, which has much higher rates, probably 80 or 90, that's very high, even compared to the US. So, and why is that? Because the standards are based on what WAS points out. And so we've improved that. Graduating class with international experience, he commented. Growth in students means growth in full-time faculty as well. Another thing that we needed to work on as a result of accreditation was more doctorally qualified faculty. And so from the percentage that was, which was below 20, we are now at 73%. Of course, our VP for Academic Affairs says, President, we want to have 100%. And I tell him, no, we don't need 100%, maybe 80%. And it's important because when we had the most recent accreditation visit, the chancellor of the California State University System was leading that commission. And in the end, he says, well, everything's fine, except that we have to share with you a too well-kept secret. And I scratched my head, what do you mean, Chancellor? And he says, well, you didn't tell us about the fact that in the latter part of the program, you have practitioner faculty coming in. And that's great, because that's broader and more direct exposure to what is happening in the future workplace environment. So because of that, Vice President, it can't be 100%, okay? We need a nice mix, but we'll continue working on that. Financial aid, it is different in Mexico than it is in the US. Yesterday, we heard an argument that there aren't really private universities in the US, I'll qualify that, simply because of the fact that a lot of the financial aid comes from the federal government, plus tuition. In the case of Mexico, if you're a private institution, you do not get financial aid from the government. So only as an exception have we been able to receive on some occasions, and in this case from the state of Baja California, some financial aid. But overwhelmingly, it is a commitment of our Board of Trustees that we find the talent, that we find those that have academic merit, that we admit them, and that we provide financial aid. So 8 out of every 10 students who comes to CETYS in different strata, socioeconomic strata, they receive financial aid. This equals to about 1/3 of our budget going to financial aid, plus fundraising that Monica and the Friends of Student Foundation and others help us with. And of course, you have alumni, unduplicated, more than 43,000, duplicated, more than 52,000. Duplicated means that they went to high school, they went to undergraduate, or graduate school. And it's increasingly the case that a lot of the graduate students that we have are not from CETYS. They're from other institutions because it's an opportunity to engage in the type of educational offering that CETYS brings to the table. Employability. Many institutions dare not talk about employability because the argument is we're developing a long-term, whole individual, okay? We say, well, yes, but it's not only that. You also have to talk about employability. So we do measure employability. And the reason why we put a range is that one thing is pre-COVID and other is post-COVID. So if you account for before and now, the range has been, despite COVID, between 92 and 97% employability. That's 1 year or less after they have graduated, which is high even by US standards. We have a growing diaspora, not only here in the Cali-Baja region, but in 30 other countries as well. And then we continuously have graduates, alumna that are very well positioned in terms of business and industry. Next. I mentioned earlier in an interview that we had this morning that there's over 1,000 alumni just in California. And so we have here some words from Kenya Samaripa.
As Vice President of International and Public Affairs at the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce and proudly a CETYS University alumni, I see every day the tremendous value of investing in binational talent across the Cali-Baja region. And our region is unique. We're not just neighbors. We're deeply interconnected economies, communities, and cultures. From Tijuana to San Diego, Mexicali to Imperial Valley, we share opportunities and challenges that require a globally minded, regionally rooted workforce. This is why I believe so strongly in nurturing cross-border talent. When we invest in education that transcends borders, that promotes innovation, language fluency, cultural understanding, and global leadership, we create professionals who are not only prepared for the future, but who will shape it. CETYS University was foundational in my development as a binational leader. My time there installed in me a strong sense of purpose, global perspective, and a deep commitment to regional progress. CETYS understands that education is not just about degrees. It's about preparing leaders who can connect, collaborate, and contribute on both sides of the border. As we look ahead, let's continue to champion education, workforce development, and binational collaboration, because the future of Cali-Baja depends on the talent and citizens that we nurture today.
Okay, so we've talked about business and industry. I won't mention any specific ones, but you can see many of the companies that have presence both in the region, in this region, as well as in the Baja region, in Baja California and other states in the US. But it's part of our ecosystem, where if we talk about the talent that is required for the region, it has to be with a professional skills perspective, but also with a mindset that allows them, the him and the hers, to make sure that they can perform appropriately. So there's that list. And then let me just highlight next that where are we headed? We are headed towards what we call CETYS 2036, which is what do we want to be or be known for when we are celebrating our 75th anniversary. And there are 4 aspects. Number 1 is we want to be known because of the transformative experience that we provide our students. Number 2, that we are promoting innovation across all segments, students, faculty, administrators, the institution as such. Third, that we are achieving significant impact in the communities that we serve. It's not only about what we do inward, it's about what we achieve outward. And then fourth, that through that national and international outreach, we can always circle back and benefit more extensively and intensively the communities we serve. Next. Some current and future initiatives as we begin to close the presentation. I'd like to stress two. Number one is developing well-rounded citizens and highly qualified professionals. What does that mean? Number one is that more than ever in current times, whatever community, whatever country, whatever society you go to, we need to make sure that we generate greater citizen awareness, greater citizen participation. Otherwise, there's no democracy. So we need to make sure that as universities, we work on that. Number two, that we maintain, and engage in linkages with key economic clusters. Number three, that in our specific case, we are mindful of cross-border, binational, globally competitive perspective. And then we have the innovation, which is always questioning whether what you're doing is the best, whether what you're doing is forward-thinking and contributing towards a better society. And there, as an institution, you heard about the multi-dimensional effort that our VP and our campuses are working on. And what that means is that we are working on micro certificates, we are working on competency-based offerings, where learning is not defined by the number of courses you take, but by what you learn. And then also digital transformation and AI. Invariably, different conferences we've gone to, our faculty, our administrators, our leaders, you find that unless you do something and invest, you're going to be left behind. It's not a matter of whether you do it, it's when and how, given the stage of development and level of maturity that your institution happens to be in, that you're going to go at. So we thank the board because we had a very intensive conversation, deep reflection in terms of what we needed to do, and they said that we could go ahead and invest $8 to $12 million only in digital transformation and AI. So thank you, board members. And then just some examples, I won't mention them, but you can see some examples of the type of cross-border binational collaboration that involves specific industry, that involves a specific US institution and a specific offering as such, where the intention is, let's be responsive to what they need. Let's make sure that the talent development that we're talking about is a true assertion, is a reality. Next. Very important. Thank you, Consul Teal, because he has been pivotal, as well as UCSD, SDSU, Southwestern, USD, in what has been, along with UABC and CETYS, an effort to try to make sure that more of what we're doing individually, or onesies and twosies, can become something that is synergistic. And so December 12th, UCSD will be hosting the launching of the Cali-Baja Consortium. You'll hear more of that, but if you've heard something like the Cali-Baja Consortium, this is it, So we've got institutions, teams on both sides of the border, following the lead and the advice that our respective consuls provide so that we can make that a reality. Next. We have some words from Assembly Member David Alvarez. Go ahead.
Good morning, buenos días a todos. Although I'm unable to be with you in person today, it is really an honor, truly a privilege, to address the CETYS Universidad community on both sides of the border. The Cali-Baja region shares a unique binational destiny, one that's built on our shared cross-border talent and collaboration, and CETYS Universidad plays a vital role in this shared mission of ours. With its long-standing commitment to academic excellence and cross-border engagement, CETYS has forged meaningful partnerships with institutions such as UCSD, the University of San Diego, and Southwestern College, just to name a few. That's important because developing talent for our region requires leadership, hard work, and above all, a vision of education that transcends borders. And for more than 6 decades, CETYS University has been a cornerstone of our binational community. It's not just a university near the border, it's the university of the border. Today, more than 1,000 CETYS alumni live and work in California, contributing significantly to our economy, our community, and to our shared prosperity. They're business leaders, educators, engineers, entrepreneurs, The list goes on and on. They're all living proof of the power of binational education to build a stronger, more dynamic California and Baja California region. As the local representative to the California legislature, I recognize the critical role that cross-border academic institutions like CETYS play as partners in education and science, technology, and business in our society. And when institutions like CETYS thrive, the entire mega region, and indeed both our nations, thrive with them. Así que muchas gracias y felicidades al Dr. Fernando León. This is a great forum, a great opportunity for us to share here in San Diego. Felicidades.
We're almost closing. Of course, cross-border efforts do not only involve something on one side of the border that happens only on that side of the border. We've seen how in the past there have been groups that have been very active on both sides of the border, and we have some key representatives here. Alida, thank you for coming. And she's been very active trying to see how from the San Diego portion of this and the rest of the US, she can bring to Baja California. But at the same time, she has developed the talent so that that talent comes and performs also in the US. So now we're partnering so that we're going to be constructing a performing arts center at the Tijuana campus that will promote culture from a binational perspective. So thank you, Patronato de Bellas Artes and Arquitecto Huerta for this effort. And you will have a venue, I think probably early 2027 as it looks at this point, where you will not only have the option of coming to San Diego, but also to Tijuana and promoting biculturalism from a cultural perspective. Thank you. Next. At the same time, I mentioned at the beginning, Friends of CETYS Foundation. So Friends of CETYS Foundation is a group in the US. We have several members here who are present and who help us cultivate, nurture, and achieve philanthropic support so that the efforts on the part of CETYS in the binational community can be a reality. Lately, they've been very active trying to make sure that we have a growing number of scholarships for students from Imperial County, from San Diego County, and we hope that that, along with the connections with business and industry, will allow us to multiply those efforts. So thank you to the Friends of CETYS Foundation for their role. And then just in closing, this is the end, don't worry. Instead of some concrete things, I think these are things that are on the horizon, but that institutions such as CETYS need to be aware of. And that's that the university as we know it is changing. I mean, there are some socio-political dynamics that's changing that already. You see that. But then on the other hand, as educational institutions, there are other aspects, other trends that are impacting who and what we do. And so number one is that we are increasingly serving multiple constituents. It's clear that the community college services a growing number of working adults and others who have not had the opportunity to study, and so they go to a community college. But that is more extensive now, so that the CSU, the UC system, and CETYS and other universities, we need to be cognizant of that. We can't just say, X will do it, let's establish partnerships so that we can multiply the options that they have. Number two, because we are serving a growing number of different constituents, they not all learn the same. So the pedagogy has to be different as well. We know we prefer the face-to-face model, but there are some learners who are much quicker and better learners if you have them online. Why? Because the face-to-face thread is not there. And it's a different style. And there are others that don't mind online, but they want that possibility of knowing who is on the other side of the screen teaching them, and that's hybrid. So multiple modes of delivery means that CETYS is opening that up so that it has multiple channels or conduits through which it can achieve that learning that it seeks out of its students. Number three, we were yesterday at UCSD, and it's obvious, it's a research institution. But not all institutions were created as a research institutions. Most institutions were teaching institutions. And then there are many institutions that their main role is to connect with society. Now what we face is a society where you need all three. So if you're a research institution, you need to combine the other two, teaching and outreach. If you're a teaching institution, you need to do more research and more outreach. And if you were worried about outreach before, go back to your basics, which is teaching and or research. So here what we mean is that institutions need to do all three. Different level of intensity depending on where they are, but we need to do that. Multidisciplinary. The most common thing in business is that you work in silos. The most common thing in universities is that you work in silos. Would you agree, academics here? There's college or school A, B, there's department A, B. So we need to make sure that we are more intertwined, more interconnected, and create synergies. And then the last thing is that we need to be global. And you might say, that's not a term. Well, when free trade agreement was being finalized in the 90s, the Toronto Mail and Globe wrote an op-ed, an opinion column, where they talked about the importance, as we were talking about the free trade agreement, that you need to be global in mindset, but local in terms of impact. And so the combination of global and local should be a constant with what every and any university does. To a greater extent to one, greater extent the other, but you need both as such. And with that, I appreciate your attention, your presence here, and we move to Q&A. So thank you.